Hi, today is Sunday, May 17th, 2026. May 18th, which is tomorrow, is the Korea's democracy movement day back in 1980. May 18th, 1980, there was a huge armed demonstration or revolt against the government, against then the military coup d'etat government. President Chun, who was the major general, took the power and forced Korea into the military state, and students in Gwangju, especially Jeonnam National University student, revolted and they took up the arms and they fought against the military, right? And a lot of people died. So but later on, the democracy won over the people, and now all the presidents are selected democratically. And currently, Mr. Lee Jae-myung is the favored president. He's quite popular among the people, and long time ago, the government instituted the May 18th as a national democracy celebration day. So tomorrow there will be huge celebration ceremonies down in Gwangju, which is my hometown. As with yesterday, let's take a look into FortiGate firewalls, right? Not only you can have just one FortiGate firewall to protect your network, but you can have two or three to have redundancy or to protect, to increase the availability of the FortiGate, and also to offload the traffic onto the second one. So you can have the second FortiGate as a backup or as a one-to-one, 50% offloading, and so on. So let's take a look into what you can do with the two FortiGate firewalls. This article is from andrewtravis.com, right? Fortinet, July 12th, written by Andrew Travis. FortiGate Internet Redundancy Designs. There are a lot of different designs, ISP1 and ISP2. Here, Internet Service Provider is just like a KT. My company, right, Korea Telecom. I work for KT as a corporate sales consultant. I guide corporate Korean and foreign companies operating Korea companies to you know to use the internet well in Korea. We provide the high quality internet, corporate internet, not home internet, but corporate internet, and also we sell FortiGates, trust guards, and all sorts of things. Right? Trust Guard is the brand by Unmap, and Xgate is a local brand name, but Fortinet is the most widely recognized American brand in Korea, and Palo Alto is mostly used by the foreign entities. Korean companies mostly use Trust Guard, but some, like 30% of them, also use Fortinet products. So let's find out, right? The redundancy designs, right? Duplicate designs, redundancy. ISP1 and ISP2, but you have two FortiGates, right, that provide the service to one LAN. A high availability link. The topic of high availability internet connectivity is a constant conversation I have with my customers and teammates, and I finally thought it best to sit down and draw the various options. These options can assume you have two FortiGates in HA. I don't get into active passive versus active for HA, but believe both HA types should work and two internet providers. Let's get started. Two handoffs per ISP. This is our dream scenario, one in which each of our ISPs handles two cables from their provider edge equipment. If only these were reality. But when we are so lucky, we connect each internet handoff to the same interface on each FortiGate. In the example below, ISP1, the green line, plugs into WAN 2 on each FortiGate, and ISP2, the blue line, plugs into WAN 1 on each FortiGate. All we have to do is configure HA and the WAN interfaces on our primary FortiGate, and the rest is seamless. Pros: if a FortiGate fails, we have that internet connection on the surviving FortiGate and can still use SD-WAN to utilize both circuits. Simple configuration on FortiGates. Just assign IPs from each ISP on each WAN interface. Then HA syncs it to the standby or other active unit. Possibly lower cost because no additional hardware is necessary for you. Quite a basic HA arrangement. Cons: if an ISP has a provider edge equipment failure, it would make that internet handoff available on each FortiGate. Okay, but that's why we would use SD-WAN to detect and redirect traffic appropriately. Requires provider edge equipment that can accommodate multiple cable handoffs, which is not often the case. Physical switches. In this scenario, we only have one internet handoff from each ISP and need to split it out to each FortiGate. This requires a physical switch, or two is better, between the internet provider edge equipment and the FortiGates. We need to do everything we can to prevent these physical switches from being a single point of failure. Redundant switches, redundant power on each switch, and redundant connectivity between switches. In the diagram below, I have two standalone Forti switches north of the FortiGates. We create a different VLAN for each internet connection and share that across 802.IQ LACP port channel ISL between the Forti switches. Right, Forti switches are north of FortiGates. Upper level. Pros: if a FortiGate fails, we have that internet connection on the surviving FortiGate and can still use SD-WAN. If a FortiGate fails, we have valid internet connection on the surviving FortiGate and can still use SD-WAN to utilize both circuits. Simple configuration on FortiGates, just assign IPs from each ISP on each WAN interface. Then HA syncs it to the standby or other active unit. The loss of a switch won't cause a complete outage. It will just cause an outage for the one ISP. Cons: added cost of 2 physical switches, additional hardware to configure, maintain, and support. The added cost and maintenance is one of those trade-offs for the added redundancy. It won't fit every build and site, but is a great option where needed. FortiGate hardware switch. So far, you are thinking these designs are agnostic to FortiGates, and you are right. They apply to any model router or firewall. But this next option is unique to a FortiGate, and it is utilizing a hardware switch to share the WAN VLANs between the FortiGates. It's also the hardest to wrap your head around at first, or at least it was for me. But by the end of this session, it'll make perfect sense. First off, let's show how the two FortiGates are cabled. The unique aspect of this design is that we are connecting the various internal interfaces on each FortiGate. Rather than coherent WAN 1 or WAN 2 to each ISP, we are connecting it to an internal interface so we can utilize it in a hardware switch. The number of internet connections equals the number of ports you will use on each FortiGate. We have 2 ISPs, so we cross-connect 2 cables between the FortiGates. A hardware switch is a virtual switch interface that groups different ports together so that the FortiGate can use the group as a single interface. Supported FortiGate models have a default hardware switch called either internal or LAN. The hardware switch is supported by the cheapest chipset at the hardware level. In our example below, on the left FortiGate, we group the green lines internal 5 uplink to ISP1 and internal 1 cross-connect to other FortiGate into hardware switch HW- switch 1 and assign HW switch 1 the IP address XXXX. And likewise on the right FortiGate, we group the blue lines internal 5 uplink to ISP2 and internal 2 cross-connect to other FortiGate into a hardware switch HW switch 2 and assign HW switch 2 the into hardware switch HW switch 2 and assign HW switch 2 the IP address YYYY ISP1 ISP2 LANs. By grouping the 2 internal interfaces into hardware switches, you can use both ISPs on both FortiGates with only one network handoff from each ISP. When the left FortiGate is the primary, we reach ISP1 via internal 5 on HW underbar SW1 green line, and we reach ISP2 via the cross connect internal 2 on HW underbar switch 2 blue line. When the right FortiGate is the primary, we reach ISP1 via the cross connect internal 1 and we reach ISP2 via internal 5 on HW switch 2. The full configuration steps can be found on this FortiDocs page. All right. What does this mean for failures though? Well, it's not as good as our first two options, two handoffs or physical switches. If one of the FortiGate dies, HA will fail over to the surviving FortiGate, but will lose the ISP connected into it, relying on the surviving FortiGate and ISP pros. Can utilize both ISPs on either FortiGate, even with a network handoff. Cons: failure of an FortiGate results in failure of the connection to that ISP. Consumes more interfaces on each FortiGate, one per ISP. Configuration complexity. The one time you set it up, I need to shout out to my awesome teammates who showed me this design and then explained it to me more than once when I first joined Fortinet. Thanks Derek Ellis and Mike Butterfield. Internal 2, internal 2, internal 1, internal 5, 2, 4, 3, internal 5. Quite complicated. FortiGate bypass. This is the honorable mention option where it doesn't solve a lot of redundancy problems, but it does solve one. Should your FortiGate lose power or die, you can leverage certain FortiGate bypass models to maintain connectivity to the ISP via a redundant interface. Our FortiGate 80F, 81F comes in this bypass model, and it pairs WAN 1 with internal 1. In the event of an appliance failure, it bypasses any switch or security in the FortiGate and essentially connects WAN 1 with internal 1. This could be useful when you need a fail-open scenario, but with a caveat that if the FortiGate was providing NAT or routing, then of course you wouldn't see those benefits in the event that it dies. But the functionality is there should you need a fail-open solution. FortiDocs have a great write-up on the ASIC connectivity to achieve these as well as more details. Conclusion: I hope this post helps you design redundant internet connections with redundant FortiGates. It is one of these topics that dusting the cobwebs of the different designs made this post necessary so I can go back and read it myself. Thanks for reading, And please share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Andrew Travis. It's one of those topics that dusting the cobwebs of the different designs made these posts necessary. Cobwebs, right? What is cobweb? Corn cob, cobweb. Network of threads spun by a spider.
Cobweb.
Cobweb. A cobweb, spider web. Well, that's it. Have a great FortiGate redundant day. Bye-bye.